Today I'll be going through my round 23 AFL tips and predictions. Before we get into anything else, remember that like goal that I've set the last few weeks still hasn't been hit yet. 1,000 likes. So I'm going to ask you guys once again to hit that like button. And also, if you haven't yet already, subscribe to the channel. Less than 50% of you guys have subscribed to the channel, and you know, it's free. Nothing wrong with subscribing. It helps out a lot. Let's review my round 22 tips, and it was a pretty... well, it was a good round of footy in general, especially the first few games. My tipping, I got a 5, but it was still top 10%. Difficult. It was a very difficult round to tip. I went the Swans by 3 points in one of the best games, honestly, of the season. To be honest, I was streaming that game with Checkers Shrey and Seji Tok, and they came back from almost 30 points down in the last quarter. And speaking of comebacks, the Giants came back from almost 30 points down, I think, at quarter time. And also West Coast, they came back from 35 points. This was probably the craziest of the finish because they were down by 13 points with like a minute 40 to go, the Eagles, and they still won. So that was a great game to watch. The Cats got up in a good game. This is a good tip. Most people went Freo. Port Adelaide got the job done against the D's by a couple of points. It was a close game, but it was not a great game. And then to finish off the round, Mac Andrew puts the nail in Essendon's coffin just about to basically eliminate their finals hopes to win by a point, and that was their first away win. On the Sunday, I went to Carlton v Hawthorn. It was a great game for me. It wasn't a really great game for Carlton fans though. They won by 74 points here in the Hawks, and the Blues are in a lot of trouble now, finals-wise. I got another tip right in the Saints to beat the Tigers. Really nothing too special about that tip. And then to finish the round off, to be honest with you, I didn't expect the Crows to do that well. The Dogs just had a flat performance, but their scoring shots, they ended up with more still. So a 5 out of 9, but I did use the Joker for the week, which meant that I ended up getting an extra 5 points. Now to look at the tipping comp for round 22, Swampi ended up with the most score with his Joker. He got a 7, and that doubled to 14. WGHT, Sydney supporter Sean Feehan, and Charismatic Cat also rounds out the top 5. Now the best scores without the Joker, Miami Heat is the only person to get a score of 8 or higher. And then we had W Hampton Hawks, Hawker 22, Granmore, and Doug Cam also scoring a pretty solid total of 7 points. Now still in the leads for this tipping competition, we have Pat Cross Dogs, who did only score the 3 but still leads by a couple with 147. Ryan Chappie has a score of 145. Swan Hunter again up there with 144. Same with Raw Wasp, and El Neil 3 votes with 143. It's been a fun tipping competition, to be honest with you, and I appreciate everyone who has joined, and it'll still be going until the end of finals. Actually, before the big calls, let's take a look at your big calls as well. I went through every game in detail, and we'll go through the best tip, and we'll go through the best big call. Whilst we're on the topic of big calls, let's review my own big calls. I am pretty happy. I ended up actually getting a 3 out of 9 for once. It's been a while since I've actually gotten 3 correct. And I started well. Sydney v Collingwood. I said that the Swans would win after Collingwood would be leading for longer. And yeah, Collingwood choked the lead by, I think it was 28 points, 27. And they lost that game. And Freo Geelong, I said that Freo would score 10 or less goals. They only scored 9. And then the one that got me correct was the Port Adelaide Melbourne game. Port Adelaide, I said that they'd have the top 3 leading disposal getters in the field, and they did that. So I was pretty happy. I ended up getting 3 correct before the Saturday games even finished, and I avoid the punishment, which was from AFL Goat HQ. Once again, can you guys stop liking his comment? And that was to make a sign during the finals time to say why the Saints should make finals. So to avoid any of that embarrassment, we don't have to worry about that. But remember, we still do have a few more punishments to get through. I did the NRL punishment a week ago, actually. I forgot to include it in last tipping video, but I'll include it in this one.
This isn't the MCG. This isn't the AFL. This isn't even the right team colours.
Alrighty, so once again, we're just going to go another 3 big calls required for this week in terms of the punishments. So drop them down below in the comments. The form as well to submit your tips and predictions and big calls for round 23 will also be in the comments. So fill them in. It's always good to see the best ones, and I'll give shout outs to everyone who does do the best. It's always a bit of fun. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my second channel. Not only will I be posting the full-length version of some of these punishments that I still need to do, but also I've got 2 match day vlogs, St Kilda Richmond and St Kilda Brisbane. And if you don't already know about it, or if you haven't checked them out, feel free to do so because it's right up there on the channel. All right, let's get right into it now with round 23. And I reckon you guys are going to be a bit surprised with some of the tips that go for this week. I'm not going to go as simple as some of the others. So we start off on the Friday night. We have Essendon and Sydney. Definitely one of those games where I remember the fixture when they, were announcing all these fixtures for the last 8-9 weeks. They always gave Essendon the best prime time slots, and now that they're not going so great, kind of feels like it was a bit of a waste. But I feel like this could be a good game for a couple of reasons. I do want to go to it. Essendon still technically have a shot at finals, although let's be real, they would be kicking themselves massively after last week. They really should have won that game. I feel like they were the better side against Gold Coast for most of the match in terms of just pure dominance. And also, they should have put them away in the last quarter with 1 goal 9. I think the Suns had 3 goals 1. Inexcusable in a way, because now for Essendon, the last 3 games where a team has won with a goal after the siren, that has been against the Bombers. And they would just be hating that as a stat, but I'm liking it because I don't like the Bombers. Now Sydney, I've seen a few sources saying they're number 1 on the power rankings. Just hold it for that. They weren't amazing, honestly, against the Pies. It was, once again, another crappy slow start. And for quite a majority of the first 3 quarters, they did look quite average, and I thought, geez, the Swans are really going to fall from grace here after, being outright on top. I think 3 wins at one stage. They've been in some poor form, but that was a really good last quarter. It was an amazing last quarter, honestly, with a few leaders inspire them to that win. Warner was unbelievable, but Heaney, he had the best quarter I reckon any players played all year. 14 disposals, a goal. He was just everywhere. He honestly was the reason why they won that in a way, honestly. And, it was great to see. Unfortunately, it matters nothing for the Brownlow, but it was great. And it was the Swans' best footy in over a month. So it was good that they're finally showing up with some decent form. So Sydney obviously wanted to finish off the season with some good form. You'd think they beat the Bombers, but I just feel like the Bombers have something there. They're the sort of side that can win these games. The Swans haven't been in great form. I feel like the Bombers would want to show up on one more occasion on the Friday night and maybe win it for Dyson Heppel. Who knows? They still could make finals if other results go their way. And I think they win. I genuinely reckon the Bombers can win this game. So I'm going to say the Bombers win this game in a big upset on the Friday night by 6 points. And my big call, and in the last quarter, there'll be 3 or more lead changes. All right, we head to the Saturday games and we start off at People's First for Gold Coast and Melbourne. Not going to lie, a pretty irrelevant game in the context of the season for both these clubs that are now officially eliminated from the race. Now Melbourne are at least, and Gold Coast. Even after that incredible win against the Bombers, it didn't really have too much an effect. But just how about Gold Coast pulling off that win? It was one of the crazier wins of the season. It was in a way out of nowhere, to be honest, because in a way, with all the chances the Bombers got, and I think that disallowed Gresham goal, you just feel like they weren't going to get up. But Mac Andrew, I tell you what, just continue playing him up forward. He's kicked 3 the last week. He's kicked 4 and the match winner after the siren this week. And that is their first away win for the whole year. And I didn't think it was going to happen after the West Coast loss. So that'll give them a lot of confidence, I reckon. And I reckon they'll be licking their lips in this game just to get a good win. It doesn't mean much, but for some confidence to finish off the year against the D side, they're really out of form at the moment. The Ds, I was at this game against Port Adelaide. They could have won. They were actually in the lead for longer. They had plenty of opportunities. I feel like they played really average despite being in the game for almost all of it and probably should have won. They had a lot of chances late. Jack Billings, I remember he dropped a mark late and just screwed up the kick. A lot of kicks out in the fall in the last quarter, and it was a really disappointing last 2 minutes. It didn't seem like they really wanted to win, and the desperation just wasn't really there. So Melbourne seemed like, in a way, maybe they've checked out. I don't know what's going on right now in the club. I've heard some rumours about Petrarca maybe wanting to leave. I think that might be settled now, but it's season over for Melbourne, and I just doubt they'll be able to get the job done up in Gold Coast. The Suns play really well there, and they'll bounce back after losing against Brisbane the last time they played there. I'm going to say the Suns win by 38 points. A big call that the D's score 3 or less goals in any half. The other game also at 1:45 PM, we have GWS and Fremantle at NG Stadium. The Giants are on a ridiculous winning streak now, the longest winning streak of any side in the competition after that big win against the Lions, and now 6 in a row, and that was probably one of their best wins in their history. I mean, I got 2 wins in a row in 2 comeback games, I think by over 30 points or just about. They'd be really pumped with that win, especially after a really bad first term. I mean, I've been told from a few sources that first term was just about as bad as any. They didn't give up after quarter time. They slowly worked back. And they steamrolled Brisbane in that last quarter. I watched the ending of that game. It was close. And then they kicked the final 4 or 5 goals, I think it was, thanks to Darcy Jones and Cadman, who stepped up big. Hogan kicked 3. Freo would be in some trouble now after a few other results that didn't go their way, but they needed to beat Geelong and they just couldn't do it. They considered the first 4 goals and seemed like they were chasing tails all time. You could tell that they were missing Tracy because they just couldn't get enough going up forward. Tabner had no impact, and Freo would desperately need a win in the next 2 games to lock in a finals, but I think one more win does lock it. If they lose the next 2, though, I don't think they make finals. They are the sort of team, Fremantle, when you don't expect them to pick up one of these wins away from home. Sort of like the Sydney win earlier in the year. So they're better than what they've been playing like the last couple of weeks. The Dockers are going to want to respond here. The Giants, they might not be due a loss, but they might be, I don't know, they might feel a little bit too tired after the last 2 games because you can't have 2 fast finishes in a row and not eventually tire out 1 game. So I'm going to say here in a big upset, not many people are going to call this, only 10%. Freo, I'm backing the Dockers in this game by 19 points, and I reckon they're going to keep Green and Hogan to 2 or less goals combined. Next up, we have Saturday twilight footy at the MCG. Collingwood and Brisbane. Collingwood season's just about done now, I think, after that loss, and it was a bad one, to be honest, because they're up by 28 points and, look really good, and once again, another drop-off. They've dropped off a lot this year in late games, which is unlike the Pies as of late, but technically it proves that they are the Collie Wobbles, the side that always chokes. I love it when Collingwood choke. And to be honest with you, I wanted them to hold on and win that game because it would have been cool for the finals race. Unfortunately, I don't think they can make finals now. Technically, mathematically, they still can with the next 2 games. So we'll see if they actually put in a good effort here or whatever happens. Obviously, they have a few injuries and they probably should have won last week, but they only have themselves to blame. I know Craig McRae was talking about the umpires, but the umpires really ultimately didn't have the biggest say. So disappointing for the Pies. The Lions also were disappointing after the first quarter. Dominated, should have been up by 7 or 8 goals, but they were just, inaccuracy probably was the reason why they lost, and in the end they kicked, 8 goals, 16. They sprayed a lot of opportunities, and they just allowed the Giants to play the way that they wanted to play. I wouldn't say it's a game that's too concerning, to be honest with you, for the Lions, even though they lost that game. Should have led by more. I think they can bounce back and still be a good chance at top 2, but they definitely would want to win this game. If they don't win this one, their top 4 chances might be on the line as well. So I think they're going to get revenge from last year here, the Lions at the MCG. It's been a while since these 2 sides played at the G. That isn't the grand final, and I think they get a solid win, the Lions away from home by 24 points. They're better at the MCG now, I think, the Lions, so I don't think that should be too much of a factor, and they get the 24-point win. My big call, they'll score 18 or more goals. Next up, we have the showdown. Put Adelaide taking on Adelaide. A lot of people have been asking me what I reckon will happen in this game for my predictions, and I'll go through them here. Now, last week, Port escaped what could have been a really bad stuff-up of a top 2 spot. They didn't really impress me too much with their skills. However, I feel like they played to the D's level. They're certainly a lot better than that. Horne-Francis, though, he was brilliant in that game. He kicked a couple of goals and was probably the match winner. He had a match-winning performance of anyone on the ground. And look, they ended up getting the win. And sometimes with Adelaide this year, they've only just been holding on to wins, like against the Saints earlier in the year, that haven't been that impressive, but there are enough points to just be still in contention for the top 2, and maybe even minor premiers potentially. Adelaide also in with a real chance here, because it's at the Adelaide Oval, it's a showdown, and last week they were really good against the Dogs. They were surprisingly really good for 4 quarters. I know they were accurate, and that was helpful, but, Dawson, he was really good. Walker played well, and Fogarty kicked 5 goals up forward as well, so Crows, they're going to be in with their chances here. They're definitely going to want to spoil the Powers party, because what better way of, ending their top 2 or maybe even top 4 chances than by beating your crosstown rivals. And given the Power have the Dockers away next week, this is a must-win for them if they want to, get top 2 or even top 4 and away. The Crows, though, they have it. I just don't know if I can back them in because they're so inconsistent, but it's a freaking showdown, and their showdown games as of late have been good. They're typically the better side when it comes to showdowns. And I've been, as I said before, going to be tipping a few upsets this round. I just have a feeling the Crows do spoil the Powers party here. And I'm going to set a high-scoring shootout of a showdown. The Crows win by 10 points, and then there'll be 16 or more goals in any half. And also on the Saturday night, we have at Marvel Stadium, St Kilda and Geelong. Another big significant game, especially for the Cats here if they want to finish top 2, just like Port Adelaide. But for St Kilda's sake, I really do want to fuck up their chance of making top 2 here, because I think we're a chance. And it's Geelong. I really don't want them to make top 4. it'd be good to screw up their chances because they're the only Victorian side that has any chance of making top 2, let alone top 4. So they're in a good position. And both sides last week had pretty good wins, particularly the Cats. It was a really impressive, gritty win away from home against the Dockers. Sean Manor, he pretty much had a breakout game, helping them hang on late in a close game. He kicked the sealer, and it was really solid against the top side, which does give him a good chance at top 2 here with the remaining 2 games. They've got the Saints and the Eagles, so this is a must-win for them. But the Saints themselves, obviously they can't make it into the finals, but they'd love to spoil a few seasons late into the year. They've got the Cats and maybe Carlton to come. And they were pretty solid with an 8-goal win against Richmond, although they definitely, if they wanted to, could have won by more. Some of the skills are a little bit poor, but, we played the way that we wanted to play in that last quarter, particularly, I think, in the third as well. And 48-point win was pretty good. And only 7% of people are tipping St Kilda. And I know I'm a Saints fan, but I really feel like that's injustice, considering the Saints, apart from that Brisbane game, have been pretty solid all year. And it's at Marvel. The Cats haven't played at Marvel this year. They're only they don't play there often, and they're not the best. Last year we beat them by quite comfortable margin. I know it's a different year, but I just feel like the Saints, as of late, play Marvel really well against the Cats, and I reckon they can hold on in this game. I feel like it's going to be a pretty close one for most of the game. But I'm saying the Saints hold on here in a good game. I know people are going to be like, oh, you fucking biased prick, but I've got other upsets, so I may as well go the Saints as well. And I think we can generally get the job done to screw up the Geelong's chances. I'm going to say the Saints win by 8. And the lead does not go over 18 points as my big call. Next up, we head to the Sunday games. We start off with Bulldogs and North. If you guys are wondering, I think I'll probably do a couple of these streams on the Sunday for sure. I do quite like the Sunday streams. This is a big game for Bulldogs as well. A lot of big games for a lot of these clubs. You'd think the Bulldogs can win this game, but all of a sudden, after last week against the Crows, anything's possible, and it's just a must-win for them. It was a bad loss away. It shows that they just cannot play at the Adelaide Oval, which is quite strange. I mean, they had more scoring shots, but still lost by almost 40. And accuracy in the last month and a half for the Bulldogs has become a real issue. It was really weird. I had a look at the stats, and the Dogs had more inside 50s by 16, yet lost by 40. So it was one of those games where you could have easily seen the Bulldogs winning with those stats. But you'd think they bounce back here. They're playing North Melbourne, which it's been... I can't remember the last time North have beaten the Western Bulldogs, to be honest. It's always been a pretty easy win for the Bulldogs in the recent memory. North would be really disappointed with their game against the Eagles. They were up by 35 in the third quarter. They looked like they were going to cruise away to a pretty healthy win at Blundstone Arena, but then they kind of just stopped. They allowed West Coast to score 12 goals from that point onwards, something crazy like that, and they just could not hang on to that lead. I mean, some shining lights to McKercher. He was really good with 37 disposals. Sheezer once again was pretty good, and once again, Sherry probably will make the All-Australian squad, but can't be doing that against, especially West Coast. They've had a disappointing season while still being quite competitive. They've been better than the last few, but geez, they've been poor, and they're not beating the Bulldogs, you wouldn't think. I don't think they're getting another win for the rest of the year. They still could technically finish last, honestly, especially if the Bulldogs want a big win here. And I think they'll get a good win. Not a massive win, but it's still a pretty big one. I'm going to say the Dogs win this game by 39 points. And a big call, the Dogs are going to score 5 more behinds than goals. They've been really inaccurate as of late, as I've said before. Sunday 3:20, we have Hawthorn and Richmond. This should be a one-sided affair, you would think, which is crazy to think about considering at the start of the year, Richmond were actually higher than Hawthorn on the ladder at one stage, and they're pretty much as even as each other. But how the tables have turned, Hawthorn have been magnificent in the last 10 weeks to get that streak going. Their wins haven't just been, winning. They've been smashing sides that have been pretty much 50-50 games, like Collingwood game, the Adelaide game, and obviously also the Carlton game as well. So it's been a while since Hawthorn have really played an opposition that have been that much below them. So I feel like this could be really deadly possibly for Richmond, because Hawthorn, they still need to win their last 2 games, but if they do it by any margin, they will most likely be making finals, which is quite incredible. I was at the game against the Blues last week for my $1 v $500 ticket video, which will be out later in the probably next week. And Hawthorn just looked set from the word go, really. I mean, the first quarter, it was pretty even. I think the sun was a bit of a factor into why they probably couldn't have scored a couple more goals. But then from then on in, they just had way more run, way more play. Carlton looked slow and sluggish. I know they had their injury concerns, but it doesn't excuse the margin. 74 points. Hawthorn just seemed like they really love playing with each other, and they're currently in the best of form almost of any side right now, heading into finals. So the Tigers, I mean, they were decent in patch against the Saints. It was one of those games where they just couldn't really do enough. The Saints were too strong, and really nothing too much more to say for Richmond. You'd hope they compete, but I really do feel like if they can beat those other sides by more than 10 goals, They want to beat, maybe they could beat Richmond by 100. I'll say they'll beat Richmond by 63 points, but it should be a big win. And I'm saying Hawthorn have 15 or more inside 50s than Richmond do. And the final game of the round, we have West Coast v Carlton, and I reckon it's going to be an absolute cracker, which is crazy to feel because for as long as people have been looking at the fixture, no one in their right mind would have had anything to say about this last game. It would have been a dead rubber. You would have expected a big Carlton win, considering, you know, as of late, Carlton have been doing so against the Eagles. But right now, West Coast almost deserve to be favourites. It was a complete horror show for Carlton last week in more ways than one. Their efforts were poor. They just couldn't keep up with Hawthorn, but they just kept on losing play. So Curno's gone for the year. But not only that, Boyd, Martin, and Fogarty also injured as well. And we've heard news now that I think Mackay might not be playing against the Eagles this week as well. So it just gets worse and worse. Their foreline is going to be in some disarray big time against West Coast here. And I feel like West Coast will almost be deserving favourites. I feel like their season's shot in terms of finals, but they can still make it. They win this and they probably still find a way to make it into the finals. The Eagles have been in some really good form. We talked about their awesome win against North, and they've just been playing with some confidence. They've been finishing games off well. Like the Giants, some comebacks to get wins, and one of the best wins they've had in a while against North. I know they look really average early, but a good fight back win. It's always good to finish off a season with a high for West Coast. So a couple of these wins. They could go another one here, to be honest. I can see him winning. It's going to be a really interesting game to stream. But I'm just going to still back in the Blues. I feel like they'll find a way somehow. Surely they cannot drop a game against West Coast, because that would definitely be like alarm bells ringing. But yeah, I'm going to back in the Blues here. I think West Coast will be definitely a big competitive chance, but the Blues are going to need a win. West Coast can win this game, I reckon, but I'm going to say the Blues by 7 to keep their final shot alive. I hope they win it because I want the Carlton Saints game to have an impact on their season. And a big call, I'm going to say the Blues win the game after trailing by 20 or more points. Alright, and to quickly wrap up the tips as well, we went the Bombers by 6, Gold Coast, Freo, Brisbane, St Kilda, Adelaide, Bulldogs, Hawthorn and Carlton. Yes, I'm going for some upsets. You may as well, with a couple rounds to go, try and see if you can get a good score. Remember, 1,000 likes is once again the like goal. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon tomorrow for a new video on the Wednesday. Have a good one.